Hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Ruth, and let's chat about Girls of Shadow and Storm and Girls of Fate and Fury. Wow, can you say that 10 times? I wanted to do something different for today's video and talk about the last two books in this series. If you didn't catch my first video, it's linked up above, and you can see my review on the first book. So we'll talk about Girls of Storm and Shadow here. So Lei, her nickname is Moon Chosen, given to her because she did the unthinkable. She confronted the Demon King. And now Lei is part of this rebellion, and they have to go around different kingdoms gathering support and allies. But it's not going to be easy for Lei because her past continues to haunt her. So will they succeed or die in this revolution? So a couple things that I liked about this book. I thought the pacing was a little bit better. Since they were traveling to different kingdoms, you're in different places. There's also some more action in this book, like fighting scenes. And then also, I think Lei training to be a warrior is way more fascinating than Lei training to be a perfect slave. I also thought that the author did a great job showing Lei having PTSD. You can see her kind of dealing with it in destructive and constructive ways, but at the same time, you can see also that she has a huge anxiety about it because the Demon King haunts her in her dreams as well. And she also hears and sees him, so is he really there, or is it all in her head? So I thought the author did a good job with that. Another thing I thought the author did a good job was showing the subtle and not so subtle gaslighting that the Demon King does. So I thought she did a good job there. And then the last favorite thing about this book is I do actually have a favorite character. His name is Hero. He's a shaman who's a part of the rebellion, and even so, he's very quiet, but he's very mission driven, and when he does speak, everyone listens and respects him. So let's get into what I didn't like about this book. So the first one is you meet Bo and Nita. These are leopard demons that are also part of the rebel group, and they're siblings. It's great that they have competition because competition can be healthy, but at the same time, what they did to me I thought was very childish. So there's a couple of things that they did, and so the first one is this is a challenge that they were doing. So this is Nita talking to her brother. Hey, Nita nudges her brother, bet I can get his secret before you can. And then there's another time where they have this game where wherever they go, they try to steal the most expensive thing. And I thought that was very irresponsible, and they don't think about their consequences of their actions. That could really jeopardize, friendships and alliances if that's the case. I would trust them with my life because they are good fighters, but I would not trust them in a diplomatic and being in a negotiative situation. So another thing I didn't like about the book, honestly, the romance. I don't know if I'm really convinced about it, just because of the way it started, their interactions, and the dialogue between them. I thought their romance was more puppy love than anything else, because all they talk about is their lustful thoughts, no really deep conversation. So I do hope, in the third book, I do hope that changes. But for right now, I just don't see it. And they throw out the I love you a lot for, I feel like someone that, on their relationship, I don't know if they really know each other. And so throwing out I love you is a very big deal. Another thing I didn't like about the book is, honestly, they had so many sexual innuendo penis jokes, and it got pretty old real quick because I felt like, okay, I don't know what to say, so let me go ahead and just insert this penis joke, penis sexual, reference here just for laughs and giggles, and it to me wasn't funny at all. It got really old. So final thoughts on the second book. I would have to say the second book is better than the first book. So I do like the book a little bit better than this first book. However, it's still okay. So if I had like to give like a rating, I'd be like 1.5, and the first book would be like a 1. So please go ahead and skip this section because this will definitely be spoilers. I do have a couple questions that, again, I hope they'll be answered when we talk about the third book. So my first question was not that I need to know the demon's backstory, but I thought it'd be interesting to know, like, why does the Demon King hate the paper cast so much? Is it because, you know, maybe in the past he was in love with a paper cast and so now he's on like a revenge tour? Or it could be as simple as, you know, he just grew up hating paper casts and just very power hungry and just wants to rule everyone. So it could be that too, but I just want to know, like, hey, is there something more deep to the king? And then the second one is they do talk about the sickness a little bit more in this book, but I still have a lot of questions about it. So again, I hope they address more of it in book 3. Let's move on and talk about the last book, Fate and Fury. War has begun and Lei and the rebels have to fight for their lives. Some things I liked about this book. So first one is pacing. I'm going to say is the same. I felt like is the same as the second book, where you are in fighting scenes and you're traveling to different places. The second thing I like about this book was the different perspectives that the story is told in, and so that keeps the story interesting, and then you see a little bit more details from both sides, which I appreciate. Some things I didn't like about the third book. Still, the sexual innuendo jokes were still in this third book, unfortunately, so that is a negative for me. The second one is finally, yes, the third book does address some deep conversations about the relationship that was lacking in the second book. So I put it in the con section because why did I have to wait till the third book to be addressed? It should have been addressed earlier. So that's why it's a con, but I'm glad deep conversations are finally happening. However, I think some of the topics were glossed over too quickly, especially because some of the topics I thought were very serious and needed more addressing, needed more time to like digest. And then the last thing I didn't like about this book was, I know earlier I mentioned that it was interesting to read about Lei's training, and I'm gonna say for that short amount of time she's able to train as a fighter, her fighting in battles is kind of unrealistic, especially if she's fighting against people that've been training their whole lives or against soldiers, right? So I thought that was a little bit unrealistic of the battle scenes. So my final thoughts.
Because it was, survey says.
This book is still okay for me. So I will give it a 1.5 stars. So, you know, unfortunately, I wanted to like this series, but it was just okay for me. But I'm glad I was able to finish the series. And please, you know, take my opinion as a, you know, with a grain of salt. If you feel like you want to check this book out, go ahead. But these are just my thoughts here. All right, well, thank you for sticking around this long. Like always, please let me know if you like the book. If you didn't like the book, who is your favorite character? Please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Happy reading.